Hi again, everybody. My name is Greg Anderson, and this is the Good Timekeeping Show with Greg Anderson. And, well, hey, check it out. Brand new Casio watch. Just came on the market a few weeks ago. But anyway, today I wanted to talk about the time Casio asked for my opinion. So, just to be clear, a lot of people think that because I run a YouTube channel where I talk primarily about Casio watches, they think that Casio is paying attention to my YouTube channel. Some people assume that since I have over 150 Casio watches in my own personal collection, that maybe Casio sends me free stuff so that I can review it. And actually the truth is, no. None of that's happening. Casio has never sent me anything for free, and everything I can tell just from, evidence at hand, Casio does not pay any attention at all to this YouTube channel. But a few weeks ago, I received a note. I don't remember if it was a text or an email or just maybe something that popped up when I turned on the Casio Watches app, but they said Casio wanted my opinion. So I got a little bit excited about it at first, thinking, okay, maybe this is because of my YouTube channel. Maybe they're finally asking for my opinion, and I can tell my viewers it finally happened. So I went into it, I started looking at the survey, and it was a survey. So then I realized that this is a survey they've probably sent out to hundreds, maybe thousands of people that use the Casio Watches app asking for their opinions. However, I thought I'm going to make an opportunity out of this to create a video and tell you folks what happened. Because I thought I'm going to just lay it on the line there. Here's my opinion. Casio's asking. I'm going to be really honest and straightforward and confident. I want to share what I really think about Casio. And so let me just tell you exactly what they asked and exactly what I said in response. So the first question on this survey was, what kind of future watch do you want? So I said, okay, tough solar and multi-band 6 are the most important features for me. Also, positive LCD is the best by far, no more negative displays. That's what I told them. Then I clicked next. Well, next, they said, please specify the G-Shock that you own, multiple answers allowed. And I looked at the G-Shock watches. They were asking me, do you own this one, this one, this one? And I realized, of course, they only seemed to be interested in the fitness watches, the fitness style watches that Casio was selling. So out of all those possibilities, I have this, the DWH5600, the health watch. So this one that I got for half price, normally it's about $300, and I've had this for about 1.5 years now. Because I have this is really the reason they were asking me all these questions about these watches. So anyway, next questions, please specify the Garmin smartwatch that you own. And I don't have any Garmin smartwatches. In fact, this one would be considered, like a health monitor watch because it has heart rate and oxygen sensor and pedometer and stuff like that built into it. I have this other one, the ABL 100 with a pedometer in it, or step counter. But other than that, I don't have any of these fitness watches. I don't have anything from Garmin or the other brands that do fitness watches. So I had to tell them, yeah, no, none of that. Any smartwatches you own other than G-Shock and Garmin, they wanted me to click on some things, Apple Watch or whatever. No, I don't have any of that stuff. Next, so then they figured out I have the DWH5600. So how do you usually use the DWH5600? Checking the time, checking smartphone notifications, the fashion items. So they had some, some basic questions there. And well, I do use it to check the time, obviously. I do use it to double check smartphone notifications. So you ever have that thing where, you've got your phone in your pocket, and as you're moving around or zipping up your jacket or whatever, you think you felt the phone vibrate. And I usually do leave my phone on the silent mode where it vibrates, because the work I do, you don't really want to have a lot of noise interrupting what you do. So sometimes I think I can feel it vibrating, but maybe it was just the way that I moved and it rubbed against the fabric in my shirt or my jacket. So if I think the phone has vibrated, indicating there's a call or a notification, a text message of some sort, and then the watch vibrates a second or two later, then that kind of confirms to me that, oh, that wasn't just some sort of phantom thing. It really was the phone trying to do something. So that's kind of that's something I do appreciate about this watch when I wear it, that it kind of confirms that the phone is actually trying to notify me of something. It says, What made you decide to buy the DWH5600? And please answer to the best of your memory. Solar charging capability, compatibility with my smartphone, heart rate monitoring. None of those things were really important to me in a watch when I bought this. And the factor that made me want this the most was it was a Black Friday half price sale that I found online that lasted just briefly, long enough for me to get this. And the other color combinations, the other versions of this in different colors were not available. This was the only one available at that particular half price deal. And so the honest answer is I bought it because the price was closer to what I prefer. Now I prefer a G-Shock Square that costs less than $200, ideally less than $100. And so the extra features on this that apparently bumped the price up to $300, they weren't that important to me. But when that deal came through, that's why I bought it. So anyway, moving on. Do you usually engage in sports or workouts? So they were asking about, that kind of stuff. And I just, not really into the walking and biking and hiking and strength training and, all that stuff that they were asking about, mostly walking. So that's what I told them. Although, it's not that these other activities are out of the question, but the things I do more routinely is a lot of walking around. Where do you usually walk? Park, beach, mountain, stadium track. And so I think I just was like, it's just kind of, my work takes me all over the place. And depending on the day, depending on various unpredictable assignments, I might be walking a lot or walking a little, hard to tell. So, why do you walk? Lifestyle and identity, recreation, enjoyment, competition and achievement, mental and emotional benefits, social reasons, physical health. Again, none of those things are really standouts for me that I must walk because of this, that, or the other. And that's the question that they asked me. Please select all devices and apps you use during your sports activities and workouts, as well as for post-activity reviews. So, devices, is it a smartwatch or a sports watch? Smartphone, earbuds, fitness tracker, apps like the fitness and running and music apps. And so for me, it's if I'm out and about walking around and I'm not busy with something else, walking for exercise or just to get from one spot to the other. For me, it's mostly I will use earbuds. I would be listening to music on an app, that sort of thing. The fitness tracker, not that important to me, but since it's available, I do track my steps. Have you ever used a smartwatch or fitness tracker during your sports activities and workouts, as well as for post-activity reviews? I have used it, I say because, this is the one we're talking about. Sure, I've used it. Would you like to use a smartwatch or fitness tracker during your sports activities and workouts, as well as for post-activity reviews in the future? I think my answer, it didn't really save my answer when I did a screenshot of the screen here. I think I said likely, not neutral, but likely, and not very likely. This one, well, I guess I cut off the question itself, but my answers were, I don't need a watch or accessories for exercise, and not worth the price, too expensive. They're probably asking me what would stop me or discourage me from buying a certain watch, and I would say, not worth the price, too expensive, and don't need a watch or accessories for my exercise. I'm not really, tracking it all that well. Finally, they say, we would like to ask you about the Casio Watches app. So the next part of the survey. Again, I had some opinions about the Casio Watches app. And I can't remember exactly how they worded the question here because obviously, when I did the screenshot, it didn't quite tell me exactly what the question was. But my answer was, it's good for watches that don't have multiband 6 to keep them synchronized with the correct time. Talking about the app. So I do have some watches that they don't have multiband 6, but I use them anyway, with Bluetooth. They synchronize. Correct time is very important to me. And I also said the app, but the app often feels like its main purpose is advertising rather than a focus on watch functions. And if you use the app, I hope you know what I meant by that. Because when you first go to the app, it often greets you with, hey, take a look at the new watch we're selling. Hey, take a look at this collection. Hey, take a look. And I'm like, no, I turn on the app so that I could use watch functions or set the watch. I didn't come here first for an advertisement. And since I bought the watch, I don't think I should be, forced to watch an advertisement or scroll past the opening page of an advertisement before I get to the watch function. I paid for the watch. I want to go straight to the watch function. So that's what I meant by that answer. And then, okay, so it's a thank you for your cooperation. But more than that, thank you for believing in the vision we're creating together. Because today, you're not just part of the app users, part of this app users, you're part of this project, it says. Each one of you plays a vital role in shaping what's next. So let's not just dream of the future experience, let's create it together. The future experience is ours to shape, and with all of you, it's going to be brighter than we ever imagined. We will have new topics to share with you again. Stay tuned because the best is yet to come. So I don't know if that means they'll ask me for more answers in a future survey, or if they're just going to tell me what's happening next. But so that was my brutally honest answer to Casio. Mostly, you know, and I don't know if I was forceful enough to say, yeah, this is good, but you know, it's too expensive. And I wouldn't have bought this without that special half-price discount. I prefer affordable watches, and there are some great Casio watches that are also affordable. Now, this is not in the survey anymore, but now this is just me telling you, what have I seen from Casio? I remember it's been about 6 months ago. I did a video talking about all the watches that were released thus far in the year 2023. Or no, sorry. 2024. It was the end of the year 2024, and I was kind of this year-end review of all the watches that Casio, the G-Shocks, Casio had released, and did I buy them? If so, why? If not, why? And basically, it was almost all the watches that, like, I didn't buy that because it didn't have tough solar and multiband 6, and if you have those two things together, that gets my attention. Then there were just a couple that I bought because they had tough solar multiband 6, but the other reason I didn't buy some of the other watches was high prices. So what am I seeing as I look at the Casio G-Shock, primarily G-Shock releases from the last year, now about a year and a half, from the beginning of 2024 all the way up to now, which is the middle of 2025. What I'm seeing is a lot of really high-end watches that are unnecessarily high-end and expensive. What am I saying? Again, if I buy a GWM 5610, okay, it's about $100. Sometimes you'll find it for a little bit more, less than that. Or a GW 6900. These are solid watches. Also the GW 2310 or 2320. All solid watches. And, you know, I also like the AWG M100. So those four are kind of my, you know, if I had to just choose four, they would be some version of those watches. And I can get any of those right now for about $100, sometimes a little bit less. And I think that's a pretty good deal. Pretty good value, not too expensive, just the right amount of features. And what I'm seeing is a less emphasis on those models of watches or models that are similar with those features in favor of some that maybe have those features but are made of titanium materials, or it's an all metal of stainless steel, or they've got a special case back, or it's limited edition, or some kind of vintage tribute watch. All of these things that they use to justify a pretty significant hike in the price, right? So I could get a GW M5610, or I could get the all metal MRG version. I call it Mr. G, you know, but any of these, the whole Mr. G line of G-Shock watches, it's just unnecessarily high-end, expensive. And you can say, well, you know, they're made from titanium. They're special edition. They're limited edition. Of course it's going to cost more. But really, for a watch that does everything as the GW M5610 does, for $3,000 or $4,000 for that watch, why? Because it has some special kind of crystal, or because it's made of metal. You see, I can go and I can buy a GW M5610, and then I can go online and for maybe about another $100, I can get a metal conversion kit, and I can kind of build that myself and put that together, and for about $200, I can get something that is an awful lot like the full metal square that they sell for about $500 or $550. And again, if I can do it on my own, you know, and you know, the low volume of construction here for about $200, you know, they've got they're scaling the production, and they could make thousands of them, and they can make whatever. And so why does it cost $550? I don't know. Maybe they're better materials than the little kit that I might have bought to do my own conversion. But really, $550 for a G-Shock Square just because it has a metal bezel and you know, a screw down back and a metal bracelet, I don't think it's really worth that much. And when you start going well above that, and sometimes it's great features. It's GPS, or it's got the multiple sensors for, you know, barometer and thermometer and all those things built into it. But I can get watches with those features, again, for under $200. Why would I spend $700 or $800 for a watch just because it has, you know, some kind of special design? And another thing, really, I'm just not inclined to buy negative display watches. And I know people say, well, the MIP display is better. And yes, it is. It's much better than your standard negative display LCD. But you know, does it justify such a price hike? Now, coming up soon, and I've seen some buzz online about this. They're going to come up with some G-Shock squares, metal squares, with basically what a lot of people have been asking for. They just want multi-band 6 and tough solar and maybe Bluetooth. They don't want all the other special features and stuff, but they just want the MIP display on a regular G-Shock Square without all the fitness stuff built into it, without all those sensors built into it. Can I just get the MIP display on a standard kind of G-Shock Square? So the best they've come up with right now, according to the rumors, is something that will have multi-band 6, tough solar, and also Bluetooth, but it's going to be like 650 euros for that. And I don't know what the exchange rate is right now for the dollar, but again, it's like, okay, yeah, it's metal, yeah, it's got the MIP display, but $600 or $700? I have a hard time justifying that. And like I said, I've said it before, Casios are like the Toyota Corolla of watches, which the Toyota Corolla is a great car, and it does what cars should do. But if you made a Toyota Corolla and you had it like gold plated or something, or you put titanium wheels on it, or whatever you want to do to make it fancy, and then wanted to charge like $300,000 for a Toyota Corolla, I would say, no, thank you. I would rather have a fleet of, you know, like 20 standard Corollas, so that, you know, if one gets has to go to the shop, I've got plenty to choose from, or one, you know, gets plastered on the freeway by some careless truck driver, and you know, and I'd still have some left over. You know, that's me with Toyota Corollas, and that's kind of with me with Casio watches. So I'm not excited about the direction Casio seems to be going with these high-end watches, where they're you know, the price point starts at $500 and goes way up from there for the MTG and MRG and all those lines of watches. I'm not the customer for that. And this almost reminds me of like how Hollywood has gone with the movies. You've got the $300 million budget video game superhero movie that's supposed to be the blockbuster of the summer, tentpole movie, or you've got that little independent movie that cost maybe $500,000 to make and it's going to win Oscars. But where's the stuff in between that I grew up watching? You know, when's the last time there was a good romantic comedy with some stars you would recognize that maybe the budget was $30 million, $40 million, but it was just a good, fun movie? They don't make those anymore. I mean, maybe they put them on TV or on the streamers or whatever, but that's such a crowded market that I don't know. And so Hollywood's kind of abandoned that middle section where I think a lot of people would enjoy their products. And watches I used to see at Walmart, watches I used to pay about $100, somewhere between $100 and $200 for some premium features. I would be comfortable there. But instead, I go to Walmart and I'm seeing watches, Casios, and they're good watches, but they're really, really cheap. You know, and it's kind of like you buy a $20 watch from Casio because it's good, it'll tell you the time, and because if, you know, you're chopping down a tree and a tree comes down and shatters your watch, you're just going to go down to Walmart and get another one, and you're not going to cry too hard about losing your $20 watch. Okay, there's a place for those kinds of watches, and I suppose there's a place for the $4,000 G-Shock. I'm not in that place. As I walk around in my regular everyday life, if I were to go, hey, check it out, and I were wearing a Mr. G $4,000 G-Shock, Nobody I know in my everyday life would bat an eye. They would not think there's anything special about that watch. It's a G-Shock. No one would be impressed. Even if I wore a Rolex, no one would be impressed. It would look like a Casio Duro to them. So I'm not in that world where people are admiring how much you paid for a watch. And I'm not looking to be in that world. Even here on this YouTube channel, I'm not saying, you know, if I buy a $4,000 G-Shock and I make a video about it, then a lot of people will watch my video. Well, guess what? I'm not the top YouTube channel out there. I'm not going to, you know, get a return on investment and get $4,000 worth of views on that video. So again, there's no interest for me to buy the $4,000 Casio watch or G-Shock or Oceanus or, you know, whatever it is. I'm not there. So if Casio has kind of abandoned that range, the $100 to $200 range where I like to hang out, I'm very, very disappointed by that. I'll see what I can do. I've obviously got a bunch of watches, so I'm not going to cry too hard if I can't just go buy another watch every month or two because they're just not serving my market anymore. How small is my market? How do you feel about this? Would you rather save up and, you know, not buy watches for a couple of years and then go get that $4,000 G-Shock? Or would you rather go to Walmart and get the $25 watch and just keep doing that? Or are you like me? You like multiband 6 and tough solar and somewhere around $100 for your watch, and it doesn't have to be too fancy, but maybe it can be a little bit different color than the one I already have, and maybe it can just kind of, you know, have a little bit of a variety and have some fun. Maybe a few little updated features. Maybe, I don't know, am I out to lunch? You let me know. Anyway, I've talked too long already. Are you still interested in in this watch? All right, this one is a winner. Spoiler alert, I'm going to make a video very soon about this one. I like this one a lot. It has tough solar, doesn't have multiband 6, but ooh, I like it. I really like this one. I'll tell you about it in another video coming up soon right here on the Good Timekeeping Show.